Hello, 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 and welcome back to IVF in Your Pocket, your waiting room companion. I'm so excited for today's episode because I'm delighted to say that we have on our show today the incredible, very well known, prominent pioneer in the field of reproductive health around particularly stress and psychology and body and the mind body connection. I've heard Dr. Amy refer to you as the Oprah fertility space. I read that Vogue shares that you're the goddess, the fertility goddess. And I, of course, and the whole fertility world kind of knows you as the pioneer to really talk about the connection between stress and infertility and to really bring into the picture the psychological impact of infertility. I mean, you are the guru in this space, let's be real. We are so honored to have you on the show today to talk about your tidbits about the connection between stress and infertility. And of course, our listeners are going through IVF, which is extremely stressful, which is so much of your research.
So I'm Allie Domar. I'm a health psychologist. I've been in this field for 39 years, which is really
Wow.
scary. And I like to tell people I was 11 when I started, but I do have gray hairs. So I am currently in my dream job, actually, which is I'm the Chief Compassion Officer for Inception Fertility Dash the Prelude Clinics. And I'm also the Director of Research for the Inception Research Institute, which means I get to change how we care for our 50,000 patients and 2,000 employees, but also do research on how to make the whole process, specifically the IVF process, a lot less stressful. And so I would just sort of quickly, in terms of the relationship between stress and infertility, I don't have to tell you that infertility is insanely stressful. I published a paper, I don't know, 30 years ago, showing that women with infertility had the same level of anxiety and depression as women with metastatic cancer, heart disease, or AIDS. Um,
Absolutely.
Published another study at the beginning of the pandemic, and infertility patients said that infertility was still worse than the beginning of the pandemic. So I'm not going to go on and on and on about why it's so stressful. I will just say that it's a unique disease, and it's a disease as determined by the World Health Organization. It impacts every area of your life. It affects your relationship with your partner. If you have a partner, it affects your sex life. It affects your relationship with your family, with your friends, your job, your, relationship with God, if you have one, your financial stability, and your body image. And on top of all that, everyone blames you for having the disease, even though close to half of all cases these days are male factor infertility.
Yep.
So it's a very unique disease. Women, and the research is much better on women, have extremely high levels of anxiety and depression um, that didn't exist before they started trying. Very few of our patients actually have a mental health diagnosis before they start trying. I mean, some do, but most people were psychologically healthy until infertility entered their lives. So I'm not going to talk much more about that because I think everyone's listening is probably feeling anxious, depressed, both
Yep.
isolated, irritable, fed up, frustrated, jealous, etc. Because I've been seeing patients for 39 years and that's all I ever see because it's such a hard disease to deal with. The big question, of course, is does one's stress level impact their fertility? And I've been trying to answer that question for 39 years. And I can say, first off, that I think the research is pretty definitive at this point that psychological interventions, specifically groups that teach you skills such as cognitive behavioral skills, relaxation skills, group support.
Hmm.
I think the most recent meta-analyses have shown that women who attend these groups have significantly higher pregnancy rates than women who are assigned to a control group. So these are randomized controlled trials. It's the gold standard. And so I would tell anybody going through infertility, join a group, whether it's live, which is less likely these days, or online.
Yep.
You can learn lots of different skills that'll help you feel calmer and more in control. You can meet other women who know exactly how you feel. You can talk about how awful it is when your sister gets pregnant, or all your friends get pregnant, or your next door neighbor gets pregnant. No one ever talks about how awful that is. So I
Yeah,
would
so
join a
true.
group. I mean, I'd say number one, I would
Yes.
join a group.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying repeatedly on this podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
See, I'm
the
not
number
original.
one. I mean, you got to join the group.
You
This
got to
has
join a
been
group.
such a stigmatized, and it's just still so
Oh,
stigmatized.
yeah. I know. And you know what? I'm not like a celebrity watcher, but I'm really impressed by in the last 10 years how many celebrities have come out. But, I was in Australia last week giving talks, and, it's amazing to me how many, 59-year-old celebrities are on the
Yep.
cover of People magazine with their twins that they insist were not created by egg donation. So,
Oh,
sometimes celebrities help and sometimes celebrities don't help. I don't like it. It's no one's
yes.
business where anyone's eggs came from, but let's not lie about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm just going to tell you that the research is pretty solid, that psychological interventions do increase pregnancy rates and can drastically lower depression and anxiety levels. So that's one half of the equation. The other half of the equation is, you know, does stress per se impact pregnancy rates? And specifically, does stress impact IVF outcomes? So I just finished a study which is going to answer that question because we used a device called Auto, which measures, I think it's 54 aspects of physiological
Wow.
stress, although on a call yesterday, they said it's like 78. And it's real data. It's not like a Aura Ring or a Fitbit or whatever. It actually measures your heart through EKG and it measures your brain through EEG.
Wow.
So it's actually real data. Um, I
I'm
can't
thorough.
tell you what the outcome of the study was because it hasn't been
Uh,
published yet,
okay, we'll be
which is
waiting for that.
which is very frustrating. You can just say I'm happy with the results. How's that?
I bet you
Um,
are. I can only
but
imagine.
there have been a couple studies that strongly suggest. So there were two studies out of somewhere in Europe, and it could be the Netherlands
Mm,
or Belgium. And anyway, what they did was they looked at women's hair cortisol
mm,
before they started an IVF cycle.
wow.
This hair cortisol highly correlates with the stress level you've been under for the previous 3 to 6 months.
Makes
And in
sense.
fact, both of their studies showed that the higher levels of hair cortisol, which suggests a higher level of stress, highly correlate, statistically significantly correlate with IVF outcome. Okay, I was ecstatic when those two studies came out, and I'm dancing around. It was the ASRM, the
Nice.
American Society of Reproductive Medicine
Yep.
meeting, and I went up to the presenter and I said, "Oh my God, this is groundbreaking. You know, why aren't we making the standard that everybody who's going to do an IVF cycle will just measure their hair cortisol? And if it's really, really high, we'll make them go into a group and have them
Yes.
learn skills,
Yes.
and their hair cortisol will come down and then they'll get pregnant." Well, the problem with that is to get enough hair to measure cortisol, you have to shave a significant portion of a woman's head.
Oh,
And you can't do that routinely. Like, I
yeah.
can't imagine there'd be a whole lot of my patients
No,
who want their head shaved
no way.
before they do an IV. Not the whole head, but it's like a chunk. So, hair cortisol has shown us that stress does have an impact on IVF outcome, but we can't use it as a clinical tool.
Mm.
So, we're back to the research that we have done with Otto, and hopefully, I can come back on this show in
Yes, please
three
do.
months, 6 months. Our main manuscript is under review at Human Reproduction, and my fingers and toes are crossed. I'm not religious, but I am praying that if we can get this published, then we can actually talk about the data.
Ah, that would be groundbreaking. And
It will
so
be groundbreaking. We just have to get it
it's just so
published.
needed. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I can tell you, having real physiological data hopefully is going to shut down everyone who criticizes me and who is skeptical about the relationship and has said bad things about me. It'll be nice if this happens to actually have real data.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would imagine none of the listeners are surprised by what you're saying, but it's so important that we're starting to actually have concrete data that
Mhm.
the whole medical field can start to embrace the importance of the mind-body connection. I mean,
Well,
we desperate for
it's
this.
interesting you said that because I attended a meeting yesterday, um, because at Inception we are contemplating incorporating this auto device as a clinical tool.
So cool.
And, a few of the physicians were like, "Oh, I don't know, do you really want to say that stress impacts IVF outcome?" And what I said to them was, what the research actually shows is that patients believe it does.
Of
Like
course.
patients know
Of
that stress
course.
is a factor, and patients believe it at a far higher rate than physicians, because physicians believe that they can control every aspect of reproduction. And I'm like, well, the brain's pretty powerful. And the same part of the brain that controls reproduction is also the part of the brain that controls stress.
Yeah,
So, how can we say the hypothalamus is only doing one thing and not both? It's doing both. There's no
absolutely.
question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Ali, we would love to have you back on the show so you can talk more about what we hope is going to be out there and published and accepted. I'm crossing my fingers as we all are too. I just want to take this time. I'm very honored that you've come on the show and
That's
shared
my pleasure.
all your knowledge with us. We really appreciate it.
Easy. Happy to come back.
Take good care.
You too. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. That concludes our episode for today. We hope to have Ali back to talk more about that important groundbreaking research in the future. We want to know more. If you have any questions or would like to work with me and you're in California, you can find that information along with Ali's bio in the show notes for today. Remember, until next time, you are not alone.